You are listening to Love Your Practice with Dr. Laura Mock. I'm a general dentist, a practice owner, and a certified life coach. I teach women who own dental practices to lead with intention and literally fall in love with their businesses. Keep listening and you will see how learning to love your practice turns into loving your life too. Well, hi ladies, how's everybody doing out there? By the time you get this, it's going to be September. So how's everybody doing? Our office is a little bit slower right now, but we had a good summer. So I'm okay with things slowing down a little bit. And I always try to make sure I take a week off during September because demand is down anyway. So I might as well go do some things that I want, right? So today I want to introduce to you a very fascinating woman. Her name is Sarah Mueller, and she is a dental hygienist. Prior to that, she was an assistant, but she doesn't work clinically anymore. She participates in a lot of leadership roles, which she has done for private practice, DSOs, and now she is in the startup industry within dentistry, and she helps me with my salivary testing that I've been doing since January, which I have just loved incorporating into my practice. And so we decided to have a podcast about how we're doing that. So Sarah grew from practicing clinical hygiene into leadership positions where she has used her years of experience mentoring and consulting dental offices in the private and DSO space to become the best versions of themselves. And now, as the vice president of Swish Bio's decision support, Sarah is leading the clinical team at Swish, where they help dental offices build world-class perio treatment programs through the salivary testing. Sarah's mission is to help change the way we identify, diagnose, treat, and monitor periodontal disease through precision medicine. And I have to say, she really has been doing that for me. So listen in on this podcast about salivary testing and also just a little bit about her story. And we will see you on the other side. Bye. Okay, I would like to welcome to this episode of the podcast, Sarah Mueller. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me.
And you are joining us from the Swish Bio World Headquarters. Is that right?
Yes, I am. Yes, here in lovely Novi, Michigan.
Right, which is Detroit-ish, right?
Yeah, it's like half hour north of Detroit, but yes, very close.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think hopefully I'm going to come out there and visit you guys.
Yes, that is in the plans.
Yeah. So Sarah, we need to hear a little bit about you. You are a dental hygienist, yes?
Yes, I am.
And your career hasn't taken like a super traditional clinical only role. Like you have some history in leadership and development, and we would like to hear a little bit about how you landed where you are and like what led up to that.
Absolutely. So no, I have not taken a traditional route. Um, I had every intention of taking a traditional route, so it's very interesting. I think back to hygiene school and I worked towards my bachelor's in healthcare systems administration, and a bunch of people from my class were going on to get further their education, get other degrees. And I just thought, you know what, I want to jump into clinical. I want to be a hygienist. I want to start seeing patients. So I did that. I found a fantastic office, and it was in Rhode Island, actually, of all places. And I learned so much from him, learned just a phenomenal amount of information. But he pushed me. He pushed me to be the best hygienist that I could be, and to do research and to think about the patient holistically, a whole body, as opposed to just, he used to say to me, don't be a mouth janitor.
Mhm.
And that always stuck with me. And so, as I grew and my clientele grew and the demand grew, he got me my own assistant, which I then tried to mentor, and I figured out that I really had this desire and this passion to educate. Um, so I ended up leaving that practice. I got in a car accident. I was actually T-boned by a taxi in Rhode Island, and I have 3 herniated discs in my upper neck. So when I practice, it's very painful. And it was unfortunate, but it was God led or something, because it led me down this path of, I wanted to be with patients. I wanted to be, you know, involved in their care and helping people get the best care, but I couldn't do it myself. So then it was, well, do I go into education, and where does this lead me? And I actually found a DSO that was really wonderful, and they allowed me to grow into a leadership role. Um, and I was leading, hundreds of hygienists, and then got to actually explore a different avenue. And I taught orthodontics for a while, which is,
Mm.
what hygienists can say that they got to do that. So um, it was definitely a very abnormal route, but I learned so much. I learned from great leaders. Um, and I was exposed to a variety of different things, specifically the opportunity and the ability to identify opportunities in an office, in a dental practice. So going into, whether it be a private practice or a DSO office, identifying opportunity, coming up with a plan to make changes, and then helping to implement those changes. So it's something that I love and I'm passionate about. But now,
Mm.
full circle, I found this beautiful company called Swish Bio, and um, we believe that salivary testing is essential, and it helps you to be able to provide the very best care for your patients. So I feel like I've been able to take all of my past experiences and just kind of beautifully like bundle them up into this little package that is, my current position with Swish Bio.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's a culmination of all the skills that you've learned, everything from the clinical to implementing change, which all of us dental practice owners know implementing change is one of the most challenging things we do in our practices. But we need to, like, there's new things that come along and new technologies and better ways of taking care of our patients. And I appreciate companies who help me implement change. And I know that many of my listeners do as well. So take us for a moment and tell us about salivary testing in general and how it is changing dentistry.
Sure. So uh, it's it's something that is, I think, more recently being researched in a broader scope. So it's funny, I was watching TV the other night, and you probably have seen this commercial with I think it's for Head and Shoulders or something. And no, I'm not getting a kickback from, Head and Shoulders, but it's like Tiny Troy in the scalp, and he's like, I'm looking for the microbiome. And they're talking about the bugs, the bacteria, the microbiome of the scalp, and what is causing dandruff. And then, I have dogs. So my social media is just chock full of dog stuff. And the probiotics and the things available for dogs now for their gut health and their skin health. And so I feel like it's just something that more and more we're becoming aware that these bugs, these pathogens, they affect our oral health. And there's good and there's bad bacteria. We know this. And I think we learn this in school, but then we come out of school and it's like we get into this rhythm or this rut. And and you just you do the same thing over and over again. And at least that's how I felt of practicing clinically. And it takes a lot to kind of push you out of that. But when you have that information in front of you where you can say a pathogen is out of whack, right? That there's a certain level that we know it should be within, a range it should be within, where it's symbiotic. It's in harmony with the good and the bad bacteria. They're all kind of living together. No damage is happening. But when you actually have a test that can say, hey, something is out of whack, it's high, it has the potential to cause damage now. I mean, as a clinician, that is invaluable, right? That is just, it's so exciting, because now I can say, okay, patient, now I know why you have a cavity every time you come in here. Now I know why your gums are always bleeding and I can't get it under control. Now I can target that bacteria and I can hopefully get you to a stable state much more quickly. And for a lot of offices that are super busy, that's exciting because they're not wasting chair time, right? Or they're, the patients, from the patient's perspective, I'm not wasting money on things that might not help me get to health. So it's a win-win for everyone. And, that's what we believe in.
So for those who haven't been exposed to how salivary testing works now, so it used to be, you'd get this big test back, but there wasn't anything to be done. It was like, oh, yep, you do have some bad bacteria. Let's scale your teeth again, or make sure you floss, and like you're still being a janitor of the mouth, like you called it. Like, take me from the beginning to the end. How does it work, and how are changes implemented afterwards now as opposed to before?
Sure. So it depends on the office's, I call it patient experience. Does the patient come through a new patient exam? When does the test fit into their protocol? We kind of, we tailor it to the office.
Okay, I'm going to pause you for a second. All I want to know is super basic. You spit into a tube and what happens? Okay.
Yes. You spit, you take a solution, you put it in your mouth, you swish it around for 20 seconds, spit it back in the tube, pop on the stabilizing solution cap, shake it up for a little bit, stick it in a biohazard bag, and you send it off to the lab. Usually within a few days, you have the results.
And the results are what?
So the results are, right now we test for 16 pathogens, and I was just told the 17th is coming. So very exciting, but 16 pathogens right now, and it gives you a range. So green, yellow, red, it's just like a stoplight, kind of explains to you, are they in the healthy range? Are they in a range where we might want to act? Or are they in a range where it is more than likely they are, these pathogens are causing damage? And so then that's where decision support and my team comes in. Is we have a giant library of research. I was doing research for a while, and then now I have a researcher on my team, but we have tons and tons of treatment options, treatment considerations for the clinician, things that are specific to these pathogens. And then obviously the clinician has the final say, but we meet and we talk about different things and give them different ideas.
Yeah. So I just started doing salivary testing in January, and it's July now. And it was very nice, very generous of you all. You let us test ourselves at no cost, which was very kind of you.
And I was really surprised at what I learned about my own oral microbiome. And that was a very important turning point for me because I was like, this is technology that is available to my patients. And I am going to let them choose if they want to have this information for themselves. And unlike before, when I would try to do microbiome testing, because I did it for a while with another company, but like I would get the information and then there was, oh, yep, there you go. Now, with you guys, how you do the decision support, I have a relationship with someone who has totally nerded out on all of this information, and I can talk to them anytime I want to about how to make recommendations. And that makes me seem really smart to my patients, which I
That's our
really
goal. Yes.
understand. And I will say that as a practice who is working towards this fee for service model, the value that I am providing to my patients and the satisfaction of being able to have this partnership with them really has elevated how we take care of our patients. And I have to say that it's kind of fun. Like, this is a very different part of your brain than we need to put a filling here and we need to put a crown here. This is, let's look at this entire patient. Let's look at their health history. Like every time I get a report back, I'm looking at their health history. I'm looking at their probing. I'm looking at their radiographs. I'm looking at the alignment of their teeth and their occlusion from the scans that we've done. And I go, these are the microorganisms. This is my patient. I'm going to make a treatment plan. And I have a system now. So it really doesn't take that long, although it did take time to implement all of that. But I have a system now. It takes me about 5 minutes per report. And then I get a chance to sit across the desk with my patient and make a plan with them. And I cannot tell you how much they love it. Like by the time we are done looking at their microbiome, they are ready to do anything I recommend. It's crazy.
It's,
And it's
it
fun.
is.
They love it and I love it. And I never want to stop offering this to my patients because it's fun and valuable.
Well, thank you for that. That's music to my ears.
Yeah.
That's what we want to try to help every clinician see the value in this test.
Yeah. So tell me like how you decide what to recommend and what not to recommend, because it sounds like you have a system for that, but I want my ladies to hear about it.
Sure. So there's a variety of questions that the decision support team will ask. So, the research, per the research, if the patient is, we talk about staging and grading a lot with hygienists and periodontal disease and whatnot. So if the patient is a little bit more earlier on in their perio journey, they just got diagnosed, they've got 4 millimeter pockets, calculus, bleeding, all of that stuff. That the research says to do scaling and root planing. Do scaling and root planing, that is the gold standard. Now, once you start to get into the moderate and even more into the advanced periodontal disease, that's when the research and the gold standard changes. Yes, we should do scaling and root planing, absolutely, but then it becomes about what else could we do to help this patient? And for a long time, and I'll fully admit myself, it was, okay, I tried Arrestin, I tried irrigation, I tried home care products. And it was more, again, from my opinion, chucking spaghetti at the wall, trying to see what sticks, right? Because I didn't know what pathogens were there. I wasn't doing salivary testing. And it sometimes makes you feel like, am I a bad clinician? Like I've tried everything for this person.
They're not getting better.
They're
What
not
do I
getting
do?
better.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. You wasted all this money, air quotes there, but now I have to refer you to a periodontist, and it's not a good feeling. And so now with this library of research, and we work with such amazing customers. I mean, you're one of our top providers, and I just love you so much, but we work with so many offices who have very different opinions, very different ways of wanting to practice. Some offices we work with, they wholeheartedly do not believe in fluoride. Then we have, the other end of the spectrum. And there's a lot of research out there, a lot of very, very good, reputable, peer-reviewed research. And that's what we put into our library. And we have everything from the traditional of, irrigation or chlorhexidine or, fluorides and that sort of thing, all the way to, maybe a little bit more of a holistic or natural approach where we have one customer who loves to use oils and, that sort of thing. And, before I started with Swish, if you told me that, like, oh, you could use essential oils, I would have laughed. To be very honest with you, I would have laughed at you because I wasn't exposed to that type of thing. As a hygienist in a general dentist office, I wasn't.
Traditional model of.
Exactly. And so now seeing the research, it's actually very compelling research that some of these things are very, very effective against certain pathogens. So it's very cool.
So I just actually joined the IAOMT, which is the more biological side of dentistry. I joined it because I wanted to create like a safer environment for myself and my employees, and because I believe that there is some demand for it. And I have found that they are very research based, which I didn't really understand until I got exposed to it. And when you look at things from a traditional medical model, that biological or that natural stuff seems like it's kind of like out there or woozy. And then once I got exposed to it, I was like, oh, well, I've been schooled.
Yes, that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah. And so that is an aside. And I love that your model can support both types of offices. And also, I don't want to do all of that research. So I love that somebody else has compiled it for me. And I do get a little bit nerdy. Like I do have my own spreadsheet by now. It's listed pathogens on one side and modalities of care on the other. On the other axis, and it's like, okay, what does Arrestin work for? What does laser work for? What does OxyFresh, this kind of, or sodium hypochlorite? I've got it all listed out per pathogen, basically. But I don't know, like solving that type of puzzle scratches a side of my brain that wasn't getting scratched before. And I love that you can scratch it from either model, biological or traditional.
Right. Now it's really interesting research, and I love to read it. Thank God for my researcher. I love her dearly. Her name is Amanda, so shout out to Amanda. But she is phenomenal, and she finds the best. And like I said, we're very picky. We're probably a little too picky about what research we will accept into our library. And we don't partner with any of these companies. We don't get a kickback. It's not like we're benefiting in any way from saying, hey, you should think about potentially using this product or this therapy. So it really truly is based on the research. And I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing because most things in dentistry, I mean, I've gotten a little bit jaded. It's like, well, follow the money, you know? So that's amazing that your company has decided to stay independent from all of that and to just focus on the science.
Yes. No, I completely agree. That is something that we're very, very passionate about. And hopefully, we're still a startup. We're still young. So we're still growing. And as you just spoke about, you created your own template and your own, kind of, I'll say decision tree, if you will. Hopefully as we grow, we continue to make things available to our customers. And, there's a lot of things that we are hoping to grow towards so that, new customers will have that information, readily available to them.
Okay, well, speaking of new customers, like if there's anybody who's listening to this right now who's like, salivary testing, maybe now is a good time to do that. Like, what's a baby easy step towards starting salivary testing in your office?
Easy baby step.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say reaching out is probably the easiest step. Just
Mm-hmm.
call, reach out to us, have a conversation, see if we're a good fit for your company,
Mm-hmm.
or for your office. Because I'll be very blunt, we're not a good fit for everyone. We really truly want to partner with our customers. We want to interact. We want to, you know, help you to be able to identify those patients that could clinically benefit from salivary testing. And, it does require a few touch points and conversations, and not everyone is willing to give up that time. And so,
It
we're
is.
not
Time consuming to,
exactly.
not in a bad way. Like I said, it's been fun, but like, why don't you describe to me I'll let you choose. I want you to either describe to me who is the ideal practice to implement salivary testing, or who's like, yeah, we're not for them.
I can do both. So
Okay.
I would say that the ideal practice is someone who has a good system, but is open to changing their system. So, or their patient experience.
Mhm.
So one thing that we have found is very, very, I'll say it's almost required. It's really needed, is you have to have a way of testing your patient and then relaying those test results to your patients, and then either getting the patient back in for additional therapies or products or whatever. Or some of our practices had started to have their patients come in 2 weeks early. And for that, it really just irons out the whole thing. So we always correlate it to a blood test. You do your blood test a few weeks before you go and see your doctor, or, you don't do it at the time of the visit. So it's very similar, but it's a shift in mentality. It's a shift in, dentistry's never really done something like that before. So how do I explain it to my patients, right? So it's being open to trying different processes or different patient experiences and different ways of gathering the information needed. Because I'll tell you, having the results prior to the patient's actual, appointment for treatment, then you're able to do the right customized treatment for that patient on the day of their visit, which is ideal. So in addition to the perio maintenance or the scaling and root planing, we're going to do this, and I'm going to send you home with that, right? And so it just makes it more streamlined. And the office needs to be open to having products and different therapies on hand, things that are effective against these pathogens. Early on, we had a customer that they wanted to be a part of this. They thought it was very interesting, but they only carry one single rinse in the office. And that's the only product they have. And so when we would work with them after the test result was posted, this is high. We should consider a more targeted approach. Well, I don't have anything. I don't have any products or therapies or, any other thing in the office that could be effective against that pathogen. So that's kind of, that type of office is a little bit more difficult to work with because they're not willing to bring on things that are effective against the pathogens. So that's kind of both sides.
It kind of just sounds to me like the ideal office has got to be an office that's organized, but willing to change. And not
Yes.
so stuck in ways, because there's new things to learn, there's new things to
Right.
try, and it's okay to like we always used to use one rinse, and it's a really good rinse, but there are certain pathogens it does not work against, and it's a hard rinse to use. So it was fun to learn that I could recommend these other rinses, but that required me to go, oh, there's more I can learn, there's more I can do. And that requires an openness. And brains,
Exactly.
this is something we talk about all the time on my podcast, is that brains don't naturally like change. Like change feels dangerous to a brain. And so you have to have some emotional maturity, or you have to have some strong leadership in the practice in order to implement anything, any change.
Oh yeah.
And that
And
includes very testing.
absolutely. And I find, far more often that our female um, practice owners, our female dentists, are much more apt to be open to that, much more open to change, much more open to implementing new things or trying things a little bit differently. Not to say that we don't have some men who are open to that, but I can confidently say that they're a little bit more like, no, but this is how I've always done it. And so it's harder to change that mentality.
Have you seen the research about female surgeons that came out last year?
I have not.
Well, you're a researcher, so you'll enjoy this. And I can't quote the study, but they found that with female surgeons, it's like a crazy number, like 20% less mortality after patients have been treated by a female surgeon.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that just came out last year. And the female surgeons were like, see, we do belong in surgery. But honestly, I mean, dentists are surgeons too.
Yes. Oh, heck
Doctors of
yes.
dental surgery, we didn't get studied in that study, but what you're talking about is something that I've seen in all of the continuing education circles that I've been in. The women are showing up for themselves and their patients and their practices. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about only, not that men have their own thing. They're
Oh,
fine,
yeah.
but I love my women. I love being able to help them in their leadership and sometimes with clinical stuff too, because I'm going to start lecturing for you guys.
Yes, you are.
I have gotten to know Agrigidibacter actinomycetum comitans and all the others so well in the last couple of months, getting ready for our first lecture, where I'm going to teach about these different pathogens and their characteristics and stuff like that. And it's actually made me better at talking to my patients. So that's been kind of fun.
Yes. No, it's been a blast partnering with you and trying to say the names until we laugh hysterically. But
Yeah, I have to practice that
yes. Well,
anytime.
you have beat me. I still can't say it, but
Oh.
no,
I
it's
just turned
been
it into a
wonderful.
song, basically. I turned it into a song in my head, and that's how I did it.
Oh, that's smart. See?
That's the singer in me, though.
No, that's smart. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to baby steps to implementation,
Hmm.
is there a website? Is there a phone number? What is the easiest way for my ladies to reach out?
Absolutely. So, my name is Sarah Mueller. So my email is smueller.
Yeah, I will put it in the show notes.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Email you.
So email, we also have a website, swishbio.com. They can go there and there is actually a like, hey, I'm interested. You can put in your information and someone will reach out to you. However is easiest for them, you can always email me. I can provide a phone number if you'd like. And
Yeah, we can put a phone number in there too if you want.
perfect.
I
Yeah,
think most ladies probably want to email, but somebody might want a phone call.
sure.
And then so onboarding kind of looks like some phone calls and maybe some testing for the office members. Is that kind of
Exactly.
typical?
Yes. So
Mhm.
for every office, we at Swish, we pay for 6 tests. So we provide them complimentary to every customer.
Mhm.
Um, but we typically will try to meet with the customer beforehand, um, and just talk about their goals. You know, how do you want to implement this? What patients do you want to test, and why? And really coming up with, again, you know, I like to look at the numbers side of things. I know that sounds strange from a hygienist, but I do like to dig into the metrics and the numbers and try to analyze their business a little bit, just to help them identify areas where maybe they could find opportunity. I love to help our customers grow their business, and whether that might mean adding new patients to their office, or increasing their hygiene department, or maybe it's adding a second hygienist. I love to partner with our customers
Mhm.
to get to that end goal. But it does require some meetings and some conversations and sharing of information. But our ultimate goal is to really help them understand how to use this test, how to use salivary testing and the results to improve and provide customized treatment for their patients.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I would add that, like what you said, this does require an open mind and an open-mindedness to changing your systems, but also it's been so satisfying. And it's been a really fun journey, and we appreciate how much you all have helped us with that.
Well, thank you. It's been a
Mhm.
fun partnership.
Yeah, and thank you for your time today, teaching us all about salivary testing and the benefits of that, and just for showing up for our episode today.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for anyone who's listening, well, there are going to be some lectures coming out, so I'll put those out once they're publicly available. We're still kind of in our beta for that, but be watching out for more information from me about periodontal pathogens and salivary testing.
Thank you for listening to Love Your Practice with Dr. Laura Mock. I would love to meet you. To join our movement, find the Facebook group called Love Your Practice and request to join. If you can't find it, just send me a message and I'll add ya. You'll find me there helping all of my ladies to fall in love with their businesses and have a better life.